So news broke recently about how Trump and company viewed Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas as their best shot at corruptly overturning the results of the 2020 presidential election. I mean, John Eastman, Lindsey Graham, Mark Meadows, Jeffrey Clark, Clarence Thomas, Ginny Thomas. Let's talk about the never-ending parade of Donald Trump's co-conspirators. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So a pretty big story broke a few days ago, but because I've been in the Oath Keepers trial all day, every day, I didn't get a chance to do a full Justice Matters video about it at the time, but I did read some of the reporting and I sent out a quick tweet. And here's what I said. Mystery solved. Why did Lindsey Graham, a senator from South Carolina, urge Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to toss out lawfully cast ballots in Georgia? Well, because emergency appeals out of Georgia are handled by Clarence Thomas, and Trump's lawyers saw Thomas as their best shot at overturning the election. Now, I sent that out after I read some reporting by Kyle Cheney and his colleagues at Politico, and here is that Politico article. Headline, Trump lawyers saw Justice Thomas as only chance to stop 2020 election certification. And that article begins, Donald Trump's attorneys saw a direct appeal to Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas as their best hope of derailing Joe Biden's win in the 2020 presidential election, according to emails newly disclosed to congressional investigators. And then they quote from one of those emails, quote, "We want to frame things so that Thomas could be the one to issue some sort of stay or other circuit justice opinion saying Georgia is in legitimate doubt," close quote. Trump attorney Kenneth Chesebro wrote in a December 31st, 2020 email to Trump's legal team. Chesebro contended that Thomas would be, quote, "our only chance to get a favorable judicial opinion by January 6th, which might hold up the Georgia count in Congress," close quote. I got to tell you, friends, I prosecuted a lot of criminals in my 30 years as a federal prosecutor, but these people are diabolical. But this reporting really does pull together a number of conspiratorial threads. For example, remember old Lindsey Graham? Lindsey Graham, a senator from South Carolina, inserts himself in and interferes in a Georgia election. Remember the reporting at the time? Headline, Georgia's Secretary of State says Lindsey Graham suggested he throw out legal ballots. Can I say that again? A senator from South Carolina contacted the Secretary of State for the state of Georgia and urged him to toss out lawfully cast ballots. And then remember conspirator Jeffrey Clark, the former high DOJ official who was hauled out of his house in his underwear because a judge had issued a search warrant, finding probable cause to believe there would be evidence of crime in Jeffrey Clark's phone right then and there? Remember the reporting about that? Headline, Trump loyalist at DOJ, that would be Jeffrey Clark, circulated draft Georgia letter with false election fraud claims. And here is just some of what Jeffrey Clark put in that letter that was on Department of Justice letterhead. A letter that was directed to Republican Governor Brian Kemp, Republican Speaker of the House David Ralston, Republican President of the Senate Butch Miller. A letter that opened, The Department of Justice is investigating various irregularities in the 2020 election for President of the United States. The department will update you as we are able on investigatory progress, but at this time, we have identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election in multiple states, including the state of Georgia. No doubt many of Georgia's state legislators are aware of irregularities sworn to by a variety of witnesses, and we have taken notice of their complaints. And friends, those were lies. Lies told by a high DOJ official. Lies designed to corrupt the very mission of the Department of Justice. Lies that were obviously part of a conspiracy to undermine the election's results in Georgia so they could bubble a challenge up to who? Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, because Trump and company said he is our best shot at denying Joe Biden the certification of his rightful win. Co-conspirator Jeffrey Clark. In that letter, he helpfully went on to provide a roadmap to Georgia Republicans about how they could go about corruptly denying Joe Biden his rightful win. And friends, let me add, this former high DOJ official, Jeffrey Clark, has not yet been charged with his crimes. That's obscene. That's an affront to justice that Prince Underpants here hasn't been charged with his democracy-killing crimes. A former high DOJ official has not been charged by the Department of Justice, the very agency he worked for, the very organization he corrupted to do Donald Trump's dirty bidding. He has not been charged. That is disrespectful of the rule of law, of we the people, and of our democracy. And that better change, but quick. So all of Donald Trump's co-conspirators, his crooked lawyers like Kenneth Chesebro and John Eastman, Senator Lindsey Graham doing Trump's dirty bidding down in Georgia, former DOJ official Jeffrey Clark corrupting and weaponizing the DOJ, my former professional home for nearly a quarter of a century, if you're wondering why I feel so strongly about that piece, Clarence Thomas, and let's not forget Mark Meadows and Ginny Thomas, right? Ginny, Clarence's wife. Remember the cozy text relationship Mark and Ginny had, working together to try to keep Donald Trump in power, in office, unlawfully, unconstitutionally? And all the while Ginny and Mark are texting with one another, trying to overturn the election's results. Remember what Ginny said? I'm having a conversation with my best friend just now. Like I said, friends, diabolical and democracy destroying. Let's hope that the indictments start to drop shortly after the midterms. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.